Throughout history, popes have left behind messages, some hopeful, others unsettling. But as Pope Francis nears the end of his papacy, whispers of a terrifying message have spread.
Not just in Gaza. Think of Ukraine. They have forgotten how to smile, and that is very painful. Please, warring countries, all of them, stop. Stop the war.
Did he truly reveal something shocking before his death? Or are his dire warnings about climate change, morality, and the future of the Church what people fear most? As we unravel the truth, we'll also explore Vatican controversies, the secretive process of selecting a new pope, and what happens when the world's most powerful religious leader passes away. Pope Francis's health scare. Pope Francis, at 88, isn't exactly sprinting around St. Peter's Square these days. As of February 26, 2025, he's battling double pneumonia, cooped up in Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Picture this, an elderly guy with one lung, yep, he lost part of it to pleurisy as a teen, wheezing through a complex clinical picture. Doctors are pumping him with antibiotics and cortisone, and he's got mild kidney issues and asthmatic bronchitis to boot. The Vatican says he's improving slightly, sleeping okay, even cracking a smile, but let's be real, this isn't a minor cold. Back in February 2025, he was rushed in after a Wednesday audience, looking rough. Reports say he's been chatting with Gaza's Catholic parish from his hospital bed, which is pretty badass for someone who can barely breathe. His history's full of close calls, falls, flus, surgeries, but this feels different. Sources like Politico claim he's seriously worried this might be it. He's even said, "I won't make it this time," which, wow, talk about a gut punch. So why's this matter? Well, Francis isn't just some old dude in a white robe. He's the spiritual GPS for over 1 billion people. His health's been shaky for years, but this pneumonia double whammy has everyone on edge. The guy's still working though, writing speeches, planning his legacy. It's like he's racing the clock to get his message out. And speaking of messages, some say he's already dropped hints that could make your hair stand on end. What's he so desperate to tell us? His past health scares give context. In 2023, he was hospitalized for bronchitis, and last year a fall left him bruised. But now, at 88, with a lung half gone and a body that's taken a beating, the stakes feel higher. The Vatican's tight-lipped, but the world's watching. If he doesn't pull through, what happens next? That's where things get wild. And a little eerie. But hold up. Before we get to cryptic messages or Vatican drama, let's figure out what happens when the Pope's time's up. You'll want to know how this all unfolds, trust me. What happens when he dies? Okay, so Pope Francis doesn't make it. What's the playbook? First off, the Camerlengo, right now that's Cardinal Kevin Farrell, steps in. He'll lean over, call out, "Jorge Mario Bergoglio," 3 times, and if there's no answer, it's official. No, they don't tap his head with a silver hammer, that's a myth, sorry to disappoint. A doctor confirms it, and bam, the Vatican's in mourning mode. Next, they smash his papal ring and seal with a hammer. Why? To stop anyone from forging papal docs. Old school security, right? His apartments get sealed too, a tradition from when looters were a real headache. Then comes the Novendial, 9 days of mourning straight out of ancient Rome. Italy might declare a national timeout, and his body gets prepped. Blessed, dressed in fancy red and white vestments, and laid out in St. Peter's Basilica. Hundreds of thousands, think world leaders, pilgrims, you name it, will file past to say goodbye. Francis wants it simple, though. He's already nixed the raised catafalque thing, too flashy for a guy who rides around in a Fiat. After 9 days, the funeral hits, likely in St. Peter's Square. Then he's buried under the basilica, joining centuries of popes. But the real action? That's the conclave. The College of Cardinals locks themselves in the Sistine Chapel, no phones, no Wi-Fi, just voting slips and secrecy. They need a 2/3 majority to pick the next guy, could take days, maybe weeks. White smoke means success, black smoke means they're still arguing. Ever wonder how they keep it fair? They burn the ballots with chemicals to signal the result. Old meets new in the coolest way. Last time, with Benedict XVI stepping down in 2013, it was quick, but a death shakes things up more. Francis's progressive vibe might spark a clash. Will the next pope lean left or swing back traditional? It's like a holy reality show, and the world's glued to it. Now that you've got the rundown on his exit, what about that terrifying message everyone's buzzing about? Let's dig into what he's been saying that's got people spooked. The terrifying message unveiled. Here's the thing, Pope Francis is still kicking as of February 26, 2025, so no literal before his death bombshell yet, but his words lately, they're heavy enough to make you sit up straight. The guy's been sounding alarms about stuff that could keep you awake at night, and some say that's the terrifying message we're chasing. Take climate change. In his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si and 2023's Laudate Deum, he's blunt. The world we live in is collapsing and may be nearing the breaking point. He's talking oceans warming, fish dying, whole communities drowning or frying, all because we're too slow to ditch fossil fuels. He's called it an offense against God, and honestly, picturing a planet too broken to fix, that's nightmare fuel. He's begged world leaders at COP28 to act, warning of generational conflict if we don't. Scary? You bet. Then there's his wild card, hell. In a 2024 interview, he said, "I like to think hell is empty, I hope it is." For a pope, that's a mic drop. Traditionalists flipped. Hell's supposed to be packed with sinners, right? If it's empty, what's the point of all those rules? Back in 2018, he reportedly denied hell existed, though the Vatican said, nah, misquote. Still, it's a head-scratcher that could terrify anyone who's banked on fire and brimstone to keep folks in line. His health adds urgency. Pneumonia's got him down, and he's reportedly told aides he's on borrowed time. That makes his warnings feel like a last shout, like he's racing to wake us up. Is it climate doom or a heaven-hell rethink? Maybe both. Either way, it's not fluffy sermon stuff. It's a call to rethink everything before it's too late. What do you think? Terrifying enough for you? But messages aren't the only thing stirring the pot. Francis himself's been a lightning rod. Curious why some love him and others can't stand him? Let's unpack that next. Controversies around Pope Francis. Pope Francis, love him or hate him, he's not boring. Over a decade in, he's racked up controversies like a kid collecting Pokemon cards. Let's start with his big one, interfaith chats. In 2024, he said in Singapore, all religions are a path to reach God. Cue the uproar. Some Catholics went, what about Jesus being the way? The Vatican softened it later, but the damage was done. Relativism's a dirty word in some circles, and he stepped right in it. Then there's the social stuff. He greenlit blessings for same-sex couples, not marriage, mind you, but close enough to make conservatives clutch their rosaries. His take on divorce? More mercy, less judgment. Progressives cheer, but traditionalists say he's watering down doctrine. And don't get me started on the clergy abuse mess. He's been slammed for not cracking down hard enough. Critics point to bishops he's kept on, despite shady pasts. Ouch. Politically, he's a firecracker too. He's pushed Ukraine to negotiate with Russia, bold, but some call it naive. He's also jabbed U.S. conservative Catholics, calling them backward. Mixing faith and politics like that? It's a tightrope, and he's wobbling. People either see a humble hero or a meddling radical. Which camp are you in? His style's part of it. Ditching the fancy palace for a guest house, driving a Fiat. Cool, sure, but it rubs some the wrong way, like he's trying too hard to be one of us. Love him or not, he's shaken the church like a snow globe, and the flakes are still settling. Francis isn't the only one making waves. The Vatican's got its own skeletons. Want a peek behind the curtain at the messy stuff? Here we go. Vatican's dark secrets. The Vatican's not just incense and hymns, it's got drama that'd make a soap opera blush. Take the 2012 Vatileaks scandal. Pope Benedict's butler leaked secret papers, showing power plays and shady cash moves. Think whispered deals in marble halls, with cardinals jockeying like it's Game of Thrones. It exposed a push for financial transparency that's still a work in progress. Fast forward to Francis's time, money troubles keep popping up. Cardinal Angelo Becciu's trial in 2024, he and others got nabbed for financial crimes, think millions misspent on dodgy investments. The Vatican's bank has a rap for laundering cash too, though they're cleaning up. Still, it's a black eye for a place preaching holiness. Ever wonder how deep that rabbit hole goes? Then there's Vatican II, the 1960s shake-up. It modernized worship, mass in local languages, less Latin, but some say it split the church. Traditionalists mourn the old ways, progressives say it's not enough. That fight's still simmering with Francis caught in the crossfire. Add in whispers of power struggles, cardinals plotting behind closed doors, and you've got a Vatican that's less saintly than it looks. All this chaos, how's it shaping Francis's legacy? Let's zoom out and see what he's leaving behind, because it's a doozy. His legacy and the Church's future. Pope Francis's legacy? It's a mixed bag. Think saintly vibes with a side of scandal. He's the mercy guy, pushing forgiveness over finger-wagging. His Laudato Si put green living on the Church's radar. Future popes might have to keep that torch lit. But his controversies, they've left scars. Will the next guy double down on progress or slam the brakes? He's prepped for the end too. Reports say he's tweaking his funeral plans, keeping it humble. No golden coffin for this pope. His health's fading fast and he knows it. Politico says he's protecting his legacy like a coach calling final plays. If he goes soon, the conclave's a coin toss. Progressive cardinals he's appointed might push his vibe, but conservatives are itching to rewind. The Church's future hinges on it. Climate, women's roles, inclusivity. Francis cracked those doors open. Will they stay that way or get bolted shut? His fans see a trailblazer, critics a troublemaker. Either way, he's not fading quietly. His terrifying warnings might echo louder once he's gone. What's your bet on where this heads? Speaking of echoes, Francis isn't the first pope to stir the pot. History's got some wild parallels. Let's take a quick trip back to see how this stacks up. Similar cases in papal history. Popes dropping big messages or sparking chaos. It's not new. John Paul II back in the 80s warned about nuclear war. Terrifying stuff when the Cold War had everyone twitchy. His health tanked too, with Parkinson's slowing him down, yet he kept pushing peace talks. Sound familiar? Francis's climate cries have that same urgent ring. Then there's Pius XII during World War II. He stayed mum on the Holocaust, controversial as heck. Some say he feared Nazi backlash, others call it a moral flop. Compare that to Francis's abuse scandal flack. Both faced heat for not acting fast enough. History loves a pattern, huh? Benedict XVI's exit in 2013 was a curveball too. He quit, first pope to do that in 600 years. His health was shot, and he left a church wrestling with modernity, much like Francis might. These cases show popes often leave big footprints, sometimes messy ones. Francis fits right in, doesn't he?